Hello, welcome once again to this online session in the subject of signals and systems. We are currently discussing signals, and in the last lecture, after completion of basic classification of signals, we started the discussion on basic types of signals that we come across in the subject of signals and systems. We discussed characteristics of different signals like unit impulse, unit step, unit ramp, and a complex exponential signal. Further, in the last session, we also discussed relation between unit impulse, unit step, and unit ramp signal in continuous time domain. Further, we also had a brief look at other common signals like signum, function, rectangular pulse, and a sync signal. In this online session, we would try to focus on different types of signal operations that we commonly come across while working with the signals. So let us start with common signal operations. What do we mean by signal operations? Signal operation primarily refers to different types of operations that are performed on a signal which brings change in the representation of a signal. Like we have different arithmetic operations, like we have different logical operations which are performed on the data so as to bring some change in the data. In the same way, if we try to understand signal operations, then these are different operations which are performed on a signal which brings change in its representation. Now this change in the representation of a signal, that is signal operations, can occur either intentionally or can be made either intentionally or it may occur naturally. Let us try to look at this by taking few examples. What am I trying to say is that change in the representation of a signal can either occur naturally or it may occur or it may be brought into intentionally. Let us take the first case where the signal representation changes naturally. I have discussed here I have tried to discuss here two examples. Both the examples we would have came across many a time, so they are not difficult to visualize. Right? We would have marked that many a times during a live telecast, the reporter or the news person may be sitting in a studio and a field reporter may be at some another geographical location. And when both the people are communicating, we would have seen that there would always be some communication delay that is found. Why is this the case? Is because a signal which is transmitted from one earth station to the satellite, and from the satellite it goes to another earth station, it experiences a delay. This delay is what we call it as a communication delay. Right? So a signal which is originating from one earth station, when reaches to another earth station, it experiences a delay in time. So something which is occurring at time t equal to 0, say for example at one earth station, does not occur at the same time at another earth station. We can take one more example to understand this. We might have experienced this, that when we are standing on a platform or on a roadside, then a sound of a train or an ambulance which is approaching us, which is just passing in front of us, and the one which is leaving us, all the sounds heard are different. That is, when a train is approaching from a far distance close to us, the sound of the train would be felt different compared to when the train is exactly passing in front of us. Similarly, when the train is leaving, it means that it is going away from us, the sound changes. In fact, the sound which is produced by the siren of the ambulance or the sound which is produced by the train is same. However, depending upon the position of the train and where we are standing, we find the sounds to be different. This probably many of you might be knowing the popular phenomena which is responsible for this is referred to as Doppler's effect. Right? So, in both these cases, say whether you talk it in terms of a signal transmitted from one earth station, a communication signal or a sound signal, then in both these cases, the representation of the signal is changing naturally. Similarly, we can also think of other type of signal operations where the representation of the signal is changed intentionally. Say for example, if we have a relatively low magnitude signal and if we want to communicate it over a longer distance, then before communicating, we generally amplify the signal. Say for example, a signal which is generated from a biological source, say human body, before it is processed, it is always amplified. Similarly, say for example, a video signal or an audio signal, we would try to compress the original form of video and audio signal so as to reduce its size. You can compare, you may draw a figure in Paintbrush, the popular software which comes with Windows operating system, and you can store it as .pmt and then you store it as .jpg and you can identify the difference in the size of the file. Yes, so JPG on audio side, MP3 on video side, MP4, all these are formats which basically stores audio or video in compressed form. So this is again where we are trying to change the signal representation by performing some operation on the signal. Further, we may also think of number of examples where we would be interested in adding more than two signals or two or more than two signals. Say for example, in a public announcement system where we may have the announcement done from more than one source. More than one mic can be used or mic and other devices can be used, and we generally make use of a mixture which adds this signal together. So again, when I am adding signals together, I would say that I am performing some operation on the signal, and the resultant signal after this operation would have a different representation. Right? So we come across naturally as well as intentionally many instances where we would be interested in change in the signal representation, and we know that signals basically represent information. So whether the signal representation is changing naturally or it is done intentionally, it is important to us that how the signal operations change the representation so as to decode the information present within it. Yes? So, why basically we are interested in signal operations? Because signal represents information, we are interested in getting information, and if by signal operation the representation of this information is changing, we need to understand it quite well. Yes? So, let us start studying different types of common signal operations. If we think of this, then signal operations can broadly be classified in two heads. The first is the operation that changes the nature of the signal in terms of time or any independent variable, so as to say. So far as this course is concerned, as discussed previously, we would try to take those signals where time is the independent variable, x of t, y of t and so on. So this refers to those type of signal operation which affects time. Such signal operations are time shifting, time scaling and time reversal. We would try to see each of this operation in detail. Another class of signal operations can be those which affects the magnitude or the amplitude of the signal. Such operations can be amplitude scaling, can be signal addition, can be signal multiplication. Let us try to study each of this in detail one by one. Let us start with time shifting operation. Let us try to consider a signal in continuous time domain x of t defined as this. How is the signal defined? The signal has value 1 between -1 and 1, otherwise it is 0. How is the signal? The signal has magnitude of 1 between -1 and 1, and otherwise the signal is 0. Now think of this signal which is shown in figure 2. Then we would say that the signal appears to be of similar nature as x of t because the magnitude of the signal remains same, the duration of the signal remains same, so the nature of the signal is same. However, the signal occurs at different instants of time. Here, the signal occurs between time t equal to -1 and 1, whereas the same signal here occurs between time t equal to 2 and 4. So, something which is occurring at time t equal to 0 here occurs at time t equal to 3 here. In the same way, so if we try to look at this, what we can say? We can say that this version of the signal is basically same signal x of t, but it is shifted towards the right side, that is towards the positive time. So we would say that the signal is basically delayed. Why we would say it is delayed? Because something which occurs at time t equal to 0 now occurs at time t equal to 3. And if you see on the time axis, time t equal to 3 occurs after time t equal to 0. So we would say that this signal is basically delayed. Similarly, if we try to look at this signal, then again we find that this signal is same as x of t which is shown here. It has exactly the same magnitude, it has exactly the same shape, and the duration of the signal is also same. However, in this case, the signal seems to be shifted towards left hand side. That is, something which occurs at time t equal to 0 now occurs at time t equal to -3, and we know that on time axis t equal to -3 occurs earlier compared to t equal to 0, and hence shifting of the signal towards the left hand side, we can say that the signal is basically advanced. The signal is advanced. Now let us try to give a mathematical look to this. So here we say that this signal is x of t. Now how can I represent this signal as? Then we understand that something which occurs at time t equal to 0 in x of t now occurs at time t equal to 3. That is, t minus 3 is equal to 0. So I can represent this signal as x of t minus 3. Let us try to look at it in a different way. Let us say that I have x of t minus 3 and I have signal x of t. then we know that for both these signals, the nature of the signal is remaining same. So now something which happens here at time t equal to 0 should happen here at time t minus 3 equal to 0. That is, say for example, if I am substituting 0 here, x of 0, so I am putting t equal to 0, so I should put t minus 3 equal to 0. So t minus 3 equal to 0, it means that t equal to 3. So something which is occurring at time t equal to 0, here occurring at time t equal to 3. Yes, so this signal can be represented as x of t minus 3. Similarly, it should not be a surprise if we say that this signal can be represented as x of t plus 3. Why? Because something which is occurring at time t equal to 0 now occurs at time t equal to minus 3. And how we can understand this? I can understand this as by making t plus 3 equal to 0, which indicates t is equal to minus 3. So, given a signal x of t, a signal of the form x of t plus or minus capital T is called the time shifted version of x of t, where x of t minus capital T, we are trying to refer to this condition, x of t minus capital T is called the delayed version of x of t, which is delayed by time capital T. In our example discussed here, capital T is equal to 3. Similarly, if I consider a signal x of t plus capital T, then we would say it is advanced version of x of t. It is advanced version of x of t, and it is advanced by time capital T. So in general, given a signal x of t, if I have a signal of the form x of t minus capital T or x of t plus capital T, then we would say that this is time shifted version of x of t. This is what we understand by the operation of time shifting. It means that if I am given with this signal x of t, and if the signal is of the form x of t minus 3, then we would understand that this signal is delayed by 3 units in time compared to x of t. So this signal is delayed in time by 3 units compared to x of t. Right? Let us try to take a similar example of time shifting in discrete time. Let us consider a signal x of n. X of n has basically value 1 at time t equal to 0, and the value is decreasing at n equal to 0. The value is decreasing at n equal to 1, further decreasing at n equal to 2, and it becomes 0 from n equal to 3 and onwards. Same way, the signal has some finite value less than 1 at n equal to minus 1, lesser value at n equal to minus 2, and from minus 3 and onwards the signal is becoming 0. Now, if we try to plot this signal, or if we try to see this signal, then this signal we can understand is shifted version of x of n, and it has been shifted towards the right hand side. It means that it has been delayed. And something which was occurring at n equal to 0 here now occurs at n equal to 3. So mathematically, I can represent this signal as x of n minus 3. That is, n minus 3 equal to 0, n equal to 3. So something which is happening here at n equal to 0 happens here at n equal to 3. So this signal is delayed version of x of t. Similarly, if we look at this figure, then we can understand again that something which occurs at n equal to 0 in x of n now occurs at n equal to minus 3. So the signal has been shifted left, that is, it has been advanced, and mathematically it can be represented as x of n plus 3, because something that happens at n equal to 0 here now happens at n plus 3 equal to 0, that is n equal to minus 3. So for discrete time signals also we can represent time shifting as x of n plus or minus k, where k represents the amount of the shift. If I have x of n minus k, then x of n minus k is delayed version of x of n, which is delayed by k samples. Similarly, if we have x of n plus k, then this is advanced version of x of n, which is advanced by k samples. Yes? So this is time shifting operation. Let us move on to the next operation, which we call it as time scaling. Yes? Let us again consider a signal x of t. Now in this case, the signal is basically triangular in nature and it has a spread from -1 to 1. Compared to this signal, if we try to look at this signal, then the nature of the signal is remaining same. The magnitude, the maximum value is also remaining the same. However, the spread of the signal over the time is reduced to half. Here the spread is from -1 to 1, that is spread is over 2 units in time. Here the spread is from -1/2 to 1/2, that is the spread is over 1 unit, that is half of this in time. So we can say that the signal is basically compressed in time. It has been compressed in time. Now compared to this, if we try to look at this signal, then compared to x of t, this is basically expanded in time. Why? Because still the magnitude is remaining to be equal to 1, but x of t, which was spread over -1 to 1, now this signal is basically spreading from -2 to 2. So the duration of the signal has been doubled. So we would say that the signal has expanded in time. If we want to understand this mathematically, then let us consider that we have a signal x of t which is defined from -1 to 1. Now, if we look at this signal, we would try to express it as x of 2t. Why? Because if x of t is from -1 to 1, and here I am replacing t by 2t, then -1 less than or equal to 2t less than or equal to 1, which implies that -1/2 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to 1/2, which is the case here. That is, if I write x of t, or if I represent x of t in terms of x of 2t, then what happens? Here t is from -1 to 1. Then here 2t should be from -1 to 1, which means that t should be from -1/2 to 1/2. Yes? So the signal is getting compressed over the time. Similarly, if we try to mathematically look at this signal, it would be intuitive that this signal can mathematically be represented as x of t/2. Why? Because if x of t is from -1 to 1, then if I write x of t/2, then this t is basically getting replaced by t/2. It is very simple to understand. Let us look at it this way. X of t is, we are trying to represent it as x of t/2. So t is getting replaced by t/2. So in this expression also, t should get replaced with t/2. Yes? So this t should also be replaced by t/2. So if -1 is less than or equal to t is less than or equal to 1, we would have -2 less than or equal to t/2 is less than or equal to 1, which implies that -2 is less than or equal to 2 is less than or equal to +2. Yes? So the signal is over the duration of -2 to 2. So the signal has basically expanded. This is what we understand as time scaling. Understand that in the previous example of time shifting, the duration of the signal was not changing. Here, the duration of the signal is changing. The signal is either getting compressed or the signal is getting expanded. expanded. So in general, if we want to define time scaling operation, then we can say that a given signal x of t, the signal of the form x of at or x of t by a, where a is greater than 1, is called time scaled version of x of t. Where if I am writing it as x of at, we would call this as compressed version, and if we have x of t by a, we would call it as expanded version. Yes, the same thing can also be discussed in discrete time. But here the things are going to be little more interesting. Let us say that we have a signal x of n which is defined as 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 with n equal to 0 at 3. And say we are interested in obtaining x of 2n or x of n by 2. Yes? So, given a signal x of n, we want to find what would be the nature of x of 2n and x of n by 2. So, let us for easy understanding, let us try to use a tabular method for doing our necessary explanation. We understand that this is the nature of x of n. At n equal to 0, the magnitude is 3. At n equal to 1, the magnitude is 2. At n equal to 2, the magnitude is 1, and it is 0 otherwise. Same way on minus 1 and minus 2 also. These values are shown here in terms of two columns of the table. I have started n from minus 4 and going up to 4. At minus 3, minus 4, similarly 3 and 4, the values are 0. At n equal to 0, the value is 3, 2, 1. Same way, at n equal to 1, it is 2. At n equal to 2, it is 1. Now say, I am interested in obtaining x of 2n. For different values of n, I want to find what is the value of x of 2n. Then let us try to take different values of n. So suppose that I take value of n to be equal to minus 4 and I substitute it here. So what value am I looking at? I am looking at x of minus 8. Why? Because n is equal to minus 4 multiplied by 2 would give you minus 8. So what is the value of x of minus 8? We know the value of x of minus 8 is 0. Similarly, at n equal to minus 3, what would be the value of x of 2n? At n equal to minus 3, I am looking at the value of x of minus 6, which is 0. At n equal to minus 2, I am looking at the value of x of minus 4, which is again 0. At n equal to minus 1, I am looking at the value of x at minus 2, which is equal to 1. So this value comes in. Then x of 0, that is at n equal to 0, I am in need of the value of x of 0, which is 3. At n equal to 1, I substitute 1 here, so I am interested in the value of x of 2, so I will get 1 here. At n equal to 2, I am interested in the value of x of 4, which is 0. Similarly, x of 6 and x of 8 and so on. So if you try to plot this signal for different values of n, if you try to plot x of n, then x of n would look something like this. That is, consider, at n equal to 0 the value is 3, so at n equal to 0 the value is 3. At n equal to 1 the value is 1. At n equal to 1 the value is 1. At n equal to 2, 3, 4 and onwards the value is 0. Same way, at n equal to minus 1 the value is 1. At n equal to minus 2, minus 3, minus 4 the value is 0 and so on. So x of n basically looks something like this. What has happened to the signal? If we try to compare x of n and x of 2n, what happens, it is natural to look at, is that we are skipping the samples. We have taken the sample at n equal to 0, then we are skipping the sample at n equal to 1. Instead, we are taking the sample at n equal to 2. So this sample at n equal to 2 basically comes here. Yes? If you see the nature of x of 2n, we are taking x of 0, we are taking x of 2, we are taking x of 4, we are taking x of 6, we are taking x of 8, but all even values we are missing. It means that we are not considering. So the value of x at n equal to 1 and n equal to minus 1 are not taken. They are neglected. Yes. So the total number of samples that we are now having in x of 2n has decreased. Now we have only 3 non-zero samples. X of n was basically having 5 non-zero samples, but x of 2n is now having only 3 non-zero samples. So what has happened to other samples? We have dropped the samples. We say we have neglected the samples. So what has happened to the signal? The length of the signal has basically reduced. So we say that the signal has been compressed. So we say that the signal has been compressed. Why? The length of the signal has reduced. Similarly, an interesting thing would happen if we try to calculate x of n by 2. Let us try to calculate x of n by 2 for different values of n. Be with me. At n equal to minus 4, if I substitute minus 4 here, what value of x I am looking at? I am looking at x of minus 2, and I do have the value of x of minus 2, which is 1. So I will put 1 here. Now if I take value of n equal to minus 3 and I substitute here, it would give me x of minus 3 by 2, which is x of minus 1.5, and we know that in discrete time I don't have sample values at fraction. I have sample values only for integers. That is x of minus 3 by 2, if I say, then x of minus 3 by 2 I actually don't have. Why? Because we have the values of x of n at 0, 1, 2. I don't have value at 1.5. I don't have value at minus 1.5. So actually I don't have a value. So I have put a question mark here. That is, at n equal to minus 3, I don't have a value here. Similarly, if I take value of n to be equal to minus 2, then minus 2 by 2 would be equal to minus 1. So at n equal to minus 2, the value of x of n by 2 would be equal to x of minus 1, which is equal to x of minus 1, which is equal to 2. But now if I say at n equal to minus 1, then again I would say that we would not have the value of x of minus 1 by 2. That is, at n equal to minus 1, I don't have the value of x of n by 2. So again I have put a question mark here. Similarly, x of 0 would give you 3. At n equal to 1, I again don't have a value. At n equal to 2, it would be same as x of 1, which would be equal to 2. At n equal to 3, again we don't have a value. At n equal to 4, we have a value which is equal to 1. Right? So we say that when we are performing an operation or when we are trying to represent x of n by 2, we actually don't have some values. For simplification, let us assume that these values are 0. Let us right now assume these values which we don't have, all the values that we have put as a question mark, let us assume that these values we assume it to be 0. Then in this case, how would x of n by 2 appear as? Then x of n by 2 would appear as this. At n equal to 0, the value is 3 which we have. This should be 3. The value is 3. Then at n equal to 1, we don't have value. Say at n equal to 1, we don't have value. So I have assumed it to be 0. At n equal to 2, I have the value which is equal to 2 in magnitude. At n equal to 3, again I don't have a value, so I have assumed it to be 0. At n equal to 4, the value is 1. Similarly, on the negative side, I don't have values at minus 1 and minus 3, which I have assumed to be 0, otherwise the values are 2 and 1. So now if you look at the signal x of n by 2, then this signal x of n by 2 has more number of samples compared to x of n. What are the values of sample? 3, 0, 2, 0, 1. Similarly on the negative side, you have the values. So the number of values in x of n by 2 has increased. So we would say that the span of the signal has increased. So the signal has basically expanded. You can compare this signal and this signal. This goes only up to minus 2 and 2, whereas this goes up to 4 and minus 4. So this is expanded. Yes. So x of n by 2 basically gives you expansion of a signal, which is similar to what we have seen in the previous slide as x of t by 2. Similarly, x of 2n compresses the signal, and it is exactly similar to what we have discussed in the previous slide, which is x of 2t. Yes. So when I am scaling the signal by a factor of 2, that is x of 2n, the signal is getting compressed, and x of n by 2, the signal is getting expanded. Yes, certainly we are left here with one question, that what is the meaning of assuming the values to be 0? See, we have a discrete time signal, and in discrete time signals the samples are defined only at discrete values of time. So as such, we don't have the values. If we want to expand a signal, we actually don't have more values, because once we have sampled it, what we have is only the sampled values. And now if we are trying to expand the signal, then we actually don't have a value. So what we have to basically do is we have to approximate the value. Here we have done a simple approximation by taking the value to be 0. However, I can also have approximations where I can also have smart approximations where I would try to bring the value close to the actual value. I would try to estimate a value which is close to the real value, even though I might not have sampled it. Another way of approximation, say for example, is something which is popularly called as nearest neighborhood approximation. So what I am trying to say is, I don't have a value at n equal to minus 3. So I would try to look at what was the previous value to it. The previous value to it was 2. So maybe I would try to put it equal to 2 and so on. Right? So say for example, let us try to consider this. Then we have the value at n equal to 0, which is equal to 1, but we don't have a value at n equal to 1. So rather than approximating it to be 0, let us try to repeat the previous value. So I repeat the previous value. So I make the value to be equal to 1. Then at n equal to 2, the value is this. At n equal to 3, I don't have a value, so I repeat the value again. So this is another way of approximating a value. This is called nearest neighborhood interpolation. In short, if we try to look at what is happening at x of 2n and x of n by 2, then in terms of popular technical terminologies which are used, we would say that x of 2n is basically downsampling process. Downsampling means I am reducing the number of samples that I have. So from a signal which has 5 samples, I make a signal which is equal to 3 samples. So this is called downsampling. Whereas in x of n by 2, we are actually increasing the number of samples. So from 5 samples, we are actually making 10 samples. So we would say that we are doing upsampling. Now when we are doing upsampling, because we have only those values which we have sampled, we don't have additional values. So what is required is to do approximation. Now let me discuss a very interesting example to make this point clear. In mobile phones or on a laptop or PC, we many a times try to zoom out. It means that increase the size of an image. We may have one image and we try to increase the size of an image. Now once we have the image, say for example an m cross n image, then the values of the pixels that we have is fixed. That is, in an 100 cross 100 pixel image, we would basically have 10,000 values. Now if we are trying to increase the size of the image, then from where would we get the additional values of the pixel. Then the additional values of the pixel is basically approximated. Yes? So let us try to see this in case of an image. Right? In image we know that time is not an independent variable, but this relation of scaling also applies to all independent variables. In an image, independent variables are basically space variables, coordinates, which we call spatial coordinates. So let me say that I have an image which has only 4 pixels. And now I want to zoom out this image. It means that I want to increase the size of this image by 2 times. So I would basically have to double the number of pixels. So how would I double the number of pixels? Then I would double the number of pixels by approximating the values of the pixel. And as we discussed in the previous example, that one of the method of approximation is nearest neighborhood, what I have done is, a 4 pixel needs to be converted into 16 pixels, right? So what I have done is, maybe I have duplicated A 4 times. Similarly, I have duplicated B 4 times. I have duplicated C 4 times and D 4 times. Yes? So I am increasing the size of my image twice. Yes? And we know what happens when we zoom an image. We know that when we zoom an image, the quality of the image deteriorates. Right? Say for example, I have shown here 2 images. This is an original image which I have doubled. We can compare that the quality of the image here is relatively poor compared to this. And why is it? Because something which was represented by a small area here now is represented by a big area. So you would feel that you have a box effect here. You have a box effect which is appearing here. Right? I am sure all of you would have experienced this when you are zooming an image in a mobile phone or on a laptop. Yes? So when I am talking about the scaling operation, time scaling operation in context with image, this is exactly similar to what we understand as zoom in and zoom out of an image. That is, reducing the size of an image or increasing the size of an image. So for image, time scaling operation is basically scaling of spatial coordinates where we are trying to increase or decrease the size of an image. So in this online session, we particularly have studied 2 types of signal operation. One was time shifting and another was time scaling. This is it for this session. We will try to look at more signal operations in the next session. Thank you for joining. Thank you very much.